So welcome back to Method 24. Gonna be page 35, I guess. Cause I think so. It's still Method 24. So today's topic is section 3.3 is a trigonometric derivative. Trig derivative. For now, this part we're going to talk about calculating the derivative of trigonometric functions. And this is another technique. I think this is like kind of a more like differentiation rules than technique. So let's start it. And here are some first very basic trig identity that you must know how to operate them, how to rewrite the identity. And we're going to show why this function is the derivative of that function. So here's important trig identities. So let's start with sine of x. So sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x equals to 1. And tangent squared plus 1 equals to secant squared of x. And we have to write some trig identity here if we find those, like, for example, here, sine inside of a at b and equals to sine of a cosine b plus or minus, make sure plus or minus cosine a sine b. We have inside this cosine of c and c plus or minus of d, then make sure they're not the same. This is cosine, this is sine. So we do cosine of c cosine of d, and this we do reverse, minus or plus sine of c times sine of d. This is what we all need to know, that equivalent trig identity here. We have more, I think it's more like this. And we have more. Here we just do 1, 2, 3, 4, number 5. Number 5 is tangent of x equals to sine of x over cosine of x. Number 6, and we have cotangent of x is equal to cosine of x over sine of x. And remember that this we can do it as number 7. It is cotangent of x equal to 1 over tangent of x. And number 8, we secant of x to 1 over cosine of x. And number 9 is what we all need to know. It is cosecant of x equal to 1 over sine of x. This is nitric identity. We need to know about it. And we know from the previously lecture, we know product rule, sum rule, and quotient rule. And now we can, okay, let me replay like message here. Okay, let's do find the trig identity that we need to know. And here's some like a really easy one. So now let's start the trig derivative. Let's start with if f of x equal to sine of x, then f prime of x is cosine of x. Then we have ddx over sine of x is cosine of x. Warning here. Here's error. This apply if now we have a warning here. If the coefficient of x is larger than 1, okay, is larger than 1, then use chain rule. And this. Don't use this, because this is incorrect. Don't try to do this. This is same as cosine. Sorry. And now we find if f of x is cosine of x, then f prime of x is, I forgot this, is negative sine of x. So we have d dx cosine of x equal to negative sine of x. This is same as previously said. If cosine of 8x and the derivative, it is not negative sine of 8x, because we need to do chain rule. Now let's find f of x if f of x is tangent of x. And now, according to the trick identity number 5, we know tangent of x is equals to sine of x over cosine of x. Derivative of apply the quotient rule. Apply quotient rule. Becomes okay. Is equals to we do apply the quotient rule. It is cosine of x, and we need to find the derivative of sine of x minus sine of x dx cosine of x. Cosine of square of x. Now the sign is we have is cosine with the cosine the square cosine squared of x minus sine minus sine. Now you can see this is a cosine x plus negative, then positive, then the upper side becomes 1, right? Now, and we have 1 over cosine of x is equal to secant squared. No. Secant to the power of the square is the f prime of x. This is what we obtained. So the f prime of x is secant squared of x. I think this is all what I try to do, because do the proof. maybe page 37, this is going to be. And now we can prove the derivative of cotangent of x. Here's the error here. Cotangent of x equals to 1 over tangent of x. Then the derivative, it is not 1 over secant of x. This is wrong. Let's do another quotient rule here. Quotient rule, this is what we have to make. It is sine of x ddx cosine of x minus cosine of x ddx sine of x. Then sine squared of x. Do not write this as a 1 minus. Do not write this as a 1 minus cosine squared of x. Later you will see why. Cosine sine squared of x minus cosine squared of x sine squared of x sine squared cosine is a negative. And remember, it's just going to be negative 1. And we get this, and we get negative 1 over sine squared of x. Then we get this negative cosecant square of x. And now we have our trig identity number 10. Is negative 1, and the derivative of cotangent of x is negative of cosecant squared of x. Jeez, I can't draw like a line just perfectly align with those lines. Just do quotient rule outlet. We do find f of x equal to, if we, let's do like another, if we do secant or cosecant, and secant and cosecant. Let's do another one. Let's do find f prime of x if f of x is secant of x. And recall our trig identity number 8. Secant of x is a 1 over cosine of x. we do another quotient rule here. Sine of x is d dx 1. Actually, you can just pause the video if you want to try to do yourself. So dx cosine of x 1. Cosine of x. So this is a 0. This is like a negative sine of x. This is a negative sine of negative and a positive. And we get is sine of x cosine squared of x. Rewrite the trig identity equals to sine of x cosine of x and times by 1 over cosine of x. And we get this tangent and secant. So we get is tangent and secant of x. So what we have is the derivative of secant of x is secant tangent. This is 25 minutes. I'm just doing how to do all of everything here. So just later we'll do more kind of example here because I now just try to do the proof of every derivatives here. This is what we have. This. And last one is the derivative of cosecant of x. Maybe pause the video and try to do yourself, because this can be a very good practice for you. So okay, let's roll. dx over cosecant of x is equals to ddx over 1 over sine of x is derivative. And we do another quotient rule. Sine squared of x what we get this is a 0, and this is a cosine of x. We get is negative cosine of x over sine squared of x. Rewrite the trig identity here to negative cosine of x sine of x and multiply by 1 over sine of x. We get this negative cotangent of x cosecant of x. Well, I'm spent 30 minutes to introduce those kind of a very basic trig identity and show how to prove how each derivative is computed. But I can actually just copy down the answer, but I wanted to show like doing more practice on those computations, so you can see how I do those problems. Now we get all 6 trig identity here. So it is negative cotangent of x cosecant of x. Actual trig identity, I just want to let you know, but like I'm not gonna prove it, but this is a fact. So ddx of arctan inverse tangent of x is 1 over 1 plus x squared. Well, I'm not going to do the proof for this, but here's, at least you can know. Here's the inverse tangent. And we can do an inverse sine of x is 1 over whose message is this? So 1 over 1 minus x squared is the derivative of inverse sine of x. Now this is all the trig derivatives you need to know. Let's do some examples here. 39. Is like do some examples here, and finally do some examples here. Find f of prime of x if f of x equal to cosine of x squared minus tangent of x. Maybe just pause the video and just to try it yourself, because just to treat it as if this is on like a midterm. Use the product rule here. Minus tangent of x, derivative is secant squared of x. We have is 2x cosine of x minus, there's a negative, minus secant squared of x. This is what we need. Because I think the trick is either more kind of a, okay, let's do another kind of a more advanced. Find g prime of x if g of x is equal to 1 plus sine of x over 1 minus cosine of x. Use quotient rule. Minus ddx 1 minus cosine of x times 1 plus sine of x we get 1 minus cosine of x. Cos squared of x. Here we have is 1 minus cosine of x. Cosine of x minus negative cosine is its sine of x. The sign here, so this is going to be negative cosine, going to be negative. Make sure this derivative is going to be sine of x at 1 plus sine squared of sine of x sine squared of x. That's it. Then we need to rewrite the identity here, but like I don't think it is necessary. But I will write it out. Make sure here's negative. This can be, they can be rewrite as -1. So let's rewrite as cosine of x minus sine of x minus 1 over sine squared of x. Well, then I think that is what we need because that's all for this. So trigonometric functions. Okay, that's all for 3.3. And the next section is going to be 3.4 is the chain rules. That's a cool technique that we will use for the entire calculus sequence, method 24 and method 25. So thank you everybody, because I was not in a mood before, so that's why I post here so late. And I will just post this note on my personal website and the video and the lecture video on my YouTube channel and on my personal website. Hope everybody will like it. Thank you so much, and see you in my next video for section 3.4 chain rule.